Oh, what's up, Buttercup? It is I, it is me, it is she, Barbie P. Welcome back to my channel. And I have something to talk about. Welcome to the very first episode of my faith and relationship series where we talk real about love, God, healing, and how to stop losing yourself in the name of being godly. Today's topic is when grace becomes permission, especially in relationships. So go ahead and grab you a cup of your pretty and healthy girl tea and let's go there. So, what is grace? Like, what is grace really? Grace biblically is just pretty much undeserved favor, compassion. It's love without condition. Grace is beautiful and it is needed in a relationship. But what grace is not enabling. Grace is not silence. Grace is not the absence of boundaries. Just because God extended grace doesn't mean he excused sin. He corrected it, he healed it, and he called it out. I know this might seem a little extra, but I just feel as Christian girlies and girlies that just grew up in church, we were not, or at least for me, I will just speak for myself. Oh, disclaimer, I am not a doctor, dietitian, life coach, none of that, or Jesus, so always get the professional help that you need, okay? I'm just up here talking, that is it. But from what I noticed with church girlies, it's always, at least like I said from my end, there can be a struggle in dating. There can be a struggle kind of like in boundaries and even in some marriages because I feel as though we weren't really taught to be wives, or you had a few examples, but it was just not all the way there. And then when you get married, it's a complete different just ballpark. I'm going to keep it completely honest with you. Marriage definitely changes the game because it's not like when you're dating and you see the person, you see your person, you go on your date, and then you go separate places. It's like you're with this person all the time, and y'all are both two individuals, of course, coming together, but it's like you're learning each other's habits. It's like now it's completely different, versus spending that time with them to now seeing them every morning, waking up to them. So that's an adjustment period. But I just felt led to just do this series because it was just a lot of things I've learned in my life, and I think it would be beneficial. So yeah, and especially like when I was dating, it was just something that was taught to, of course, extend grace, submit to the man, da 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 da. So I'm just like, okay, but some of the things that I learned in church actually made dating worse. So I don't know if it's just me, but this is just some of the things that I learned. So yeah. And you have to be careful with giving grace to people because giving grace is almost like silent permission, just depending on the situation, okay? So kind of like the psychology behind repeated grace. Why we keep giving grace? Could it be the fear of being alone? Wanting to be quote unquote good? Sometimes it's like spiritual guilt. You have attachment wounds and how people pleasing and overgiving can come from past traumas. You say to yourself, if I just keep loving them hard enough, they will change. And Buttercup, I have to tell you, that mindset is super dangerous Sometimes your love becomes a hiding place for someone else's demons. I know, I know, it's getting deep. But yes, when grace turns into permission, pretty much you forgive infidelity with no real accountability. You're giving money to someone who manipulates you. You stay silent when your emotional needs are ignored. And what does that person say? She's not going nowhere. Mm-hmm. How you teach people what to expect from you. Boundaries are in the Bible, and even Jesus had them. What you allow, you co sign. You might not be okay with it, but your silence is a yes. Now, I used to work kind of like at a spa salon back in the day, and I would hear I'm just minding my business, doing my due. But I would just hear so many stories from the women that were dating, and then from the married women of just interesting stuff. And the way that it just came off was, okay, if I like talking for them or as if I'm them, and they would explain certain situations, and it would just be like, well, maybe if I just keep praying, and maybe if I just keep doing this, and maybe if I just keep doing that, then he'll understand. And I was kind of saying to myself back then, like, I didn't have as much experience, with men or whatever, but I was just like, that doesn't sound right. That kind of sounds like abusive. That kind of sounds manipulative. I was like, what are we doing? And I just heard the woman was like, yeah, I'm just going to extend grace to him because he doesn't know any better. And then it was something somewhat simple, but let me see, what was it? It was more of, okay, so pretty much they were both working. The man and the woman were both working. And pretty much he would get off work, pick up the kids, but then the woman, she worked later. So then when she would get off work, it was like she had to get off work and then she had to start cooking. She had to start cleaning and just all these things. And she was saying like, oh, I'm just going to, I am tired. I am stressed, but I'm just going to extend grace to him. And I'm like, that's cool and all, but if you're working, he's working, and then you're working a little bit longer, but he's home with the kids, he could, at least like wash the dishes, like at least just kind of help out. Like both of y'all working together. At least in my mind, that's what I was thinking of. And pretty much this woman, she was doing everything. And all she just kept saying was, I'm just going to pray. I'm going to keep extending grace to him and this, and that. And then one day, y'all, she came and she just broke down. She was crying. She was just talking about how tired she was, how stressed she was, hair falling out and patches and stuff. And like I said, I was minding my business, doing my due, so I didn't really do much talking because I was younger, so I felt as though people probably wouldn't listen to me as much. But I was just like, from the outside looking in, I'm like, he needs to help you out some more. And I get that, working, and I believe they were kind of like somewhat 50-50-ish bill wise, but it was like 50-50 bill wise, but then almost like 100% of like housework on her. And then she had to deal with the kids and their rehearsal schedules and all their little extracurricular activities, and it was just putting so much stress and pressure on her. And she just kept saying like she's going to extend grace, she doesn't want to stress him out, this and that. And like I said, it eventually got to her where she just kind of broke down and was like having a whole episode. And then people, at the spa was just like, well, maybe you should talk to him about it, this and that. And then she was like, okay, she's going to talk to him. And pretty much his, I guess, excuse was just kind of like he's tired, ... And she still kept putting up with it. And then eventually she had a whole episode, I guess, with the husband. And it was just very, very interesting. But that's what inspired this video, because she was a Christian girly. And I just kept remembering her saying, I'm just going to give him grace. You know, he doesn't know, dot, 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 dot. And I was just like, you know, just like, wow. So, yeah, that's what this video, was inspired by. And I believe the Christian woman's struggle is the church has told us to be, like a Proverbs 31 woman, but they never taught us how to really protect our hearts. You can be submissive, but to what? To abuse, neglect. Being godly doesn't mean being a doormat. God gave you the discernment and He gave you a voice, so use both. Grace without truth isn't godly, Buttercup. It is dangerous. I am just saying. Grace can be misinterpreted for acceptance. In a healthy relationship, grace says, I see your flaws, I love you, but I still expect you to do better. In a toxic dynamic, grace is often received as like, she'll let this slide, We've all been there. You kind of see those red flags and you're just like, you kind of let it slide because you're just hoping like that is just something like a one-time thing. But no, sis, if you see the red flag, that's a sign. You can't keep letting stuff slide, because when you continuously extend grace without correction, the other person doesn't see it as grace. They see it as a soft yes. And as humans, we adapt to what we are allowed to get away with. If you don't put it in check, that's it. Grace without accountability feeds cycles. Grace says, I understand you're struggling, but boundaries say, I will not let you hurt me because of your struggles. Without accountability, grace becomes a reward for bad behavior. Without healthy confrontation, a healthy call out, grace becomes a silence that speaks approval. What you tolerate has become your standard. I have to tell you, Buttercup, I think I did a story time of the guy that was spying on me and stuff. Oh, I also extended grace with him. And I was extending grace, but it just kept getting worse. Because like I said, you are still condoning that bad behavior. That is a silent yes. And then they're just thinking like, okay, well, she didn't say nothing about it, so I'm going to just keep on doing it. I'm going to actually get even more disrespectful. Or I'm not even going to, give her the time of day. And in that relationship, it really just was not the best. I'm so glad I'm married and I got out, Buttercup, but it's been a real journey. It has been a real journey, and I'm just telling my story. So, like I said, I would extend grace to that person, and pretty much I started noticing they started just pushing the envelope just a little bit further each time, and eventually I just had to back away from it. Because Buttercup, your repeated grace trains their expectations. Every time they ignore your needs, lie, manipulate, gaslight you, or mistreat you, and you only say grace, 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 then you are unintentionally teaching them how to treat you. You are showing them, I love you more than I love my peace. You can harm me and I'll still be here. God told me forgive you, so I won't protect myself. And I'm going to tell you, Buttercup, that is not spiritual. That is self-abandonment. Because listen, Jesus showed grace, but he also walked away. Like, let's be clear. Grace is not enabling. Grace is not silence. Grace is not Pretending something didn't hurt you just to keep the peace. Even Jesus extended grace, but with boundaries. He flipped them tables over in the temple. That was some righteous anger. He told people to go and sin no more. That was truth and love. He withdrew himself from crowds when they didn't honor his presence. And that is using discernment. So you have to know how to extend grace, but from an overflow, not from depletion. So, meaning, if you are in a relationship and that man is doing everything he needs to do for you, but those socks are still on the floor, or like just those little things that might irritate you, that's still from a place of love and overflow. That's a place where you can, y'all can talk about these things. Or sometimes, I'm going to be real with you, Buttercup, in like my 5 years of marriage, some stuff is not even worth talking about. Like, if you see a sock on the floor, you just pick that sock up. Like, there's just little things, and it's not trying to say to quote unquote keep the peace. The main thing is, I look at in a marriage or in a relationship, wherever you are in life, if mostly everything, like 85 to 95% of what you need in that relationship is covered, those little 5 to 10% of things that might be like little naggies or little pet peeves, to me, I feel like those don't matter. Now, when I was dating the person I was with before I met my husband, the needs were not being met at all. It was not like 85 to 95%. It was more of a 25%, and then like 30 to 60% of just all these words. But there was no action. It was just words. So there was a big gap. So from that standpoint, I was extending grace, but that was from a place of depletion. The lady that I was talking about early in the video with her husband and that whole like situation they were going on, that's not she's extended grace, but that's from a place of depletion. So you can extend grace and still say no more. You can extend grace and still expect growth, not perfection from your person. And even I would say this in friendships, because I had a friend and I would, extend grace to her, and she was cool, but I just started noticing the little kind of like a jealousy spirit or this like competition-y spirit, and I did not like it. Was very light. It was very light. But it started to grow more, and I would extend grace to her, like, you know what, it's okay, girl. She had a bad day. But just because she had a bad day, that doesn't give her the right to treat me wrong. That doesn't give her the right to call me out my name. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, girl, you had a bad day. You're snippy. Here's a cinnamon roll. I get that. But when you're having a bad day and then you want to start snapping at me and then trying to call me out of my name, I'm looking around like, who is she talking to? Because she cannot be talking to me. But anyway, grace should never cost you your voice, your dignity, or your sanity. And I would say, I know we're talking about, relationships as in romantic relationships, but honestly, this applies in everything. If you are having family members that fit the bill, be careful with them. If you are having, like I said, friendships that are splitting, they fit this description, yeah. Because how to know you are spiritually drained in a relationship, whether it's a friendship, relationship or friendship, you feel confused often. You kind of don't really know how to interact with them because you're always trying to kind of like be considerate of their feelings, because they can be triggered easy and it can leave you confused, and it's just like too much. You're dreading interacting with them, like you don't even like calling them. Oh my gosh, I have had some people in my life that I could not even call and talk to, Buttercup, because every time I called them or they called me, they had negative things to say about their life. And I get, we all go through things, but it's just like every time you want to kind of spiritually dump on me in a sense, and I'm just like, I can't do it. I can't do it. So yes. Also, when a relationship or friendship is spiritually draining you because you find yourself praying for them more than praying about them. Like, you're praying more about them than with them. Like, okay, if you're in a relationship, y'all, instead of like y'all praying together, you're praying like, Lord Jesus, I come to you in your name. I need help. Like, if you are praying about a relationship that is bringing that much, that's a problem. Like, y'all should be praying together. And listen, in relationships and marriages, there might be some little hiccups here and there. There might be sometimes, hey, you got to pray for him. Sometimes you might even have to like fast for him and stuff. But it's like, again, it's still reciprocal. It's not just one person just doing it. So if you find yourself doing all like the emotional labor and receiving very little love, that is something to just think about. Like I said, I've been, especially like when I was dating and I was trying to be like the good Christian girly, not saying being good. You just have to be careful because sometimes you're so cute, you're so good, you're so nice, you're so soft spoken, and this is just my my big girl voice because in real life, y'all, I sound like a kid. I sound like a kid in real life. Like, it is just, yeah, I sound like a kid. So I'm using my big girl voice. I'm using my grown lady voice so y'all won't laugh at me. But because of my voice and my energy and all of that, like, sometimes you have to be careful because it does attract the wrong people. It can attract the wrong guys. It can attract the wrong friendships. Because, like, oh, she's so cute. She's so nice. She's so, like, innocent. She's naive. So you just have to be careful. That is all I'm saying. And you have to know when to step back. It is okay to say, I love you, but I cannot keep doing this. You have to learn how to walk away with love, clarity, and peace. And I have to say this to the people pleasers. God is not calling you to fix everyone. You have to protect your peace. You have to protect your peace. Grace is super powerful when it is paired with boundaries. You can still love them and choose you. You're not being unchristlike by saying no. You're just being wise. That is it. So here's your journal prompt. Where in my life have I confused grace with passivity? And what boundary is God asking me to set in love? Not in bitterness, but wisdom. That is the end of this video. Drop a comment below if you've ever been afraid to set boundaries in the name of being godly. Let's talk about it. Like, share, subscribe if you're ready to stop shrinking in your relationships. And I'm going to throw in friendships. And start standing tall in your faith. And until next time, Buttercup, make sure you are minding your business and tending to your own business. Mind and tend to the business that pays you. If it does not pay you, Buttercup, then you definitely need to be minding your own business, which is drinking your green juice, going for your pretty and healthy girl walk, and meal prepping your food because it is a sign of self-love. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.